Today I'll be unboxing this huge box of watches that I ordered from Timex. Now I've got an upcoming video on Ben's Watch Club about the best Timex watches, and I really wanted to make sure I found the very best Timex watches. So in addition to, plenty that I've looked at over the years, there were several others that I really wanted to take a look at to see if they could also make the cut. These were the ones that I thought had the most potential from the online listings. So today you're going to be getting my brief first impressions on, I think, 9 Timex watches. I did purchase these all with my own money, albeit I did use as many discount codes as I could get away with. You'll find links to all these watches in the video description if you want to check any of them out. Perhaps if you're browsing for a Timex, this video might come in useful somehow. So yeah, let's see what's inside, eh? Now this video isn't going to be too detailed because I think we could end up being here all day. But some of these do look really good online. Timex has definitely been on a roll as far as designs go. Just need to check that none of these have got any obvious flaws. Looks like they're all here. Now, in some ways, this really is going to be a mystery unboxing because I definitely can't remember the code names off by heart. So this could well be in a very random order. Now, there are some indications on the back because 1 or 2 of them say Expedition on them. So maybe we'll start with those, and then almost all the others just have the word Classics on them. But yeah, I've got no clue with the code names. They're pretty long-winded. So we'll save those for afterward. Now, let's start with these 2, I guess. What have we got here? Expedition North. Now, I've tried a couple of Expedition North watches before, and we'll take a look at this other one as well. Don't remember what this one was. Aha, oh yes, now I remember. Now, the one on the left here, I've been meaning to look at for quite some time, whereas the one on the right is a brand new model that came out maybe a day before making this purchase. Well, that bracelet is very odd. We'll take a closer look at that. First things first, we have this, which, I mean, that's the code name. So, yeah, there you go. Basically, it's one of these Expedition Titanium Automatic Field Watches. There we go. Not the most intuitive, but I guess it's recyclable. Now, this one got a lot of attention when it first released online because I think for a lot of people it covered many bases. There we go. And that's because not only was it a titanium case, which is a little bit exotic, you got a textured dial, automatic movement, really big water resistance, says 200 meters there, that's with this screw down crown, and overall good legibility. Pretty sure this is a sapphire crystal as well. I mean, the movement inside isn't the best, 99% sure that's a Miyota 8000 series movement, which is really why the watch isn't very thin. It is quite bulbous, as you can see there, but the case itself actually feels better than I expected. It is titanium. I wonder if that's got some slight coating of some sort on it, because it doesn't feel quite like the lower end Laurus titanium watches I've looked at. Not the most legible sapphire though. Definitely has a bit of haziness to it, as you can see, but the inherent high contrast design means it's not really a problem for legibility on this one. Strap is okay. Definitely feels a little bit kind of foamy almost. This one's ranked as genuine leather. Certainly doesn't feel as good as you might expect considering the cost of this one. It is at least quick release tabs. I think another reason people like this one is because it's just that little bit bigger. A lot of the other Timex field watches tend to be 40mm or under, and this certainly looks larger than those. This is about 40.5 across here, but it visually looks bigger, I think, because it's quite chunky, almost 13.5, and then lug to lug is quite long, just under 50mm, but it looks longer than that. There's a look at the Expedition on my 6.25 inch wrist. It's definitely too big for me, no doubt. My wrist definitely suits the newer MK1 mechanicals better. Substantially smaller, but I can see why people like this one. It's also a lot cheaper than some of the other titanium field style watches they've come out with. Other options like that James brand one and that other GMT they've got, they are quite a bit more expensive, but the dial looks pretty good on this one. Do also do this in a quartz version, but I had a good close look at that in the stock images, and I didn't think that the dial detailing looked as good in that one. Just looked that bit cheaper to me, whereas I think this still looks pretty good. Does have that textured dial. But then we've got one that you're going to be a lot less familiar with, chances are, and that's this. I think they call this the Expedition Time-Tide-Compass. So I'm going to have to do a bit of homework on this one because I know it's got some semi-advanced features. You can track a bunch of stuff. The crown's really unusual. Super responsive crown there. And I thought that this one just looked quite good for a watch of its style. Oh, yeah, I've really got no clue what's going on here. Bezel is silky smooth. Now, I've obviously experienced clickless bezels before. Never one that's felt this nice, though. I've got to say, very silky smooth, but feels high quality. Kind of has like a weighty feel to it. So, yeah, you'll have to wait till the bigger video for me to go into depth on them functions, because really... Oh, is it a compass? Oh, wow, it is. It's a compass, so it's currently fixed. That is amazing. Really cool bit of kit. And then it's reset. Wow. Now, those end links are very unusual. You've not only got like a narrow part where the strap attaches. What's that, about 15 millimeters? So quite an odd size. But they're also screwed in place here. Both ends are screwed in. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Also, it's quite a tub-like shape. I've seen one or two watches in the past that have got a similar shape to this. Really does stand out. Quite peculiar indeed. I mean, the rest of the bracelet feels pretty good. Definitely a recurring issue with Timex is the lack of micro adjustments on the clasp. Not sure why they keep doing this. For reference, the width of this is like 22.5-ish, and it goes down to what, about 20 at the clasp? Yeah. The whole case is quite large as well. 45.3 across. This is going to look crazy on my arm. 53.5 almost on the lug-to-lug. Ironically thinner than the last one, I think. 12.8. And apparently it's also got Indiglow as well. I'm not sure how to activate that. Guess we'll find out in the full review. Very interesting. Don't think I've looked at a watch at all like this before. These are normally the sorts of features reserved for digital watches. Not sure what the water resistance is on this one, but it is stainless steel. When I saw this one, I was wondering who would buy it, but you know, if that was small enough for me, I'd be actually tempted just because of the coolness. Anyway, let's move on to some of the other watches. The watches for those of you who aren't hiking enthusiasts. I'll speed through the rest of these. What have we got? I think I've opened this one upside down. Oh, yes, I remember this now. So I was looking at what pilot watches Timex might have. Pilot watches typically aren't my kind of thing, really. I mean, most of them just don't fit me for starters. But I couldn't help but notice this Pan Am one. I thought it looked really cool. Hopefully, it doesn't look cheap in person. But we'll have a closer look. Really is a bit of a cult classic brand these days, Pan Am. And I've seen another watch brand with a Pan Am collab recently. It was Nezumi, who are a bit of a favourite of mine. Just happened to release one at the same sort of time. That out, I'll get it ticking. And then we've got another nice friction fit bezel. Really good feel they managed to get on these. None of that looseness. It feels very precise on the tolerances, which is good. And the dial, I'm not sure it looks quite as good as it does online, but it's certainly not bad, and it's very unique. Let's see if we can set that going somehow. Not sure how this one exactly works, but it's activating something up at the top left there. Oh, here we go. Now we've got the chronograph hand going, and we'll reset it, change the function. Yeah, it seems to have a variety of other functions. Oh, it's on the move again here. Yeah, it definitely has additional functionality, this one again. Be interesting to have a look at the luminescence on that one. Stainless steel from what I remember. What water resistance is this one? Not quite sure. It's got to be at least 5 bar, right? Case itself is a little bit underwhelming, I've got to say. You know, it's pretty basic. All the action here is really going on that dial. Strap feels alright though. It's got that colour matched blue lining. Not the best, definitely not the best, but probably serviceable. Does feel like it might last quite well, but it will also look a little bit raggy by then. I know somewhere in here we've also got like a normal version of that watch, so we'll have to see when we stumble across that. What's next on the list? So this is one of Timex's seemingly lesser known dive watches. And I say Timex's, I mean, come on, they've borrowed this design, haven't they, for the most part? And it still surprises me that they don't actually put the model name on the sticker. What's the name of this one again? Ah, that's it. This is the Harborside Coast, they're calling it. And I think this is one of their new colorways for this watch. The reason I ordered this, as someone who's not normally interested in homage watches to any degree, is simply because it is by far their most affordable dive style watch, and that's what they're calling it, dive style, because it is only 100 meters of water resistance, which is probably enough for most people anyway. But this one seems to have the vast majority of the specs from the more expensive models. I mean, it does only have mineral glass, but it has got a steel case, and very thin steel case as well, as you can see there. And it is a little bit larger, like 43 millimeters. Quartz movement. On some grey market sites, you can get this one really cheap, and this new version in particular really just stood out to me for that dial. Just seems to have much more of a pop than all the rest of the range. I really wanted to test this one out to see if it was any better or worse than the Casio Duro, for example. Duro definitely has some performance advantages, but this looks like a fairly decent attempt here, especially the thinness. That's much thinner than the Duro. Bezel. Oh, bezel is really loud, actually. Oh my goodness. Not sure you can hear that, but goodness me. I mean, it's extremely secure in terms of no backplay. It's not the most assured feeling. Almost like a scratchy sound. Definitely aluminium, that. But glad I've at least taken a look at this one. Been meaning to for some time. Strap, by the way, is pretty good actually in terms of quality, but it's just the big gaps between the holes, unfortunately, which practically isn't the best. Almost halfway now. What have we got next? Okay, wow. So funny that. So the one on the left here is like the non-Pan Am version of that watch. It's like a Flyback Chronograph. But this one on the right is certainly one that more of you will recognize. And it's the Marlin reissue. This is one of the watches that kind of kicked off Timex's resurgence in the last few years. And it is 34 millimeters. And I don't know why. Feels even smaller than that. It really does. It looks it. Just shocked then when I opened the box at how tiny this thing looks. I mean, this should fit me very well, my small arms. We'll give it a try on in a second, but goodness me, it just feels really petite. Has this croc-style leather strap, and I think there's actually another one of these in here somewhere, so I'll give that one a test too. But also does seem quite a bit thinner than some of the other hand-wound watches they've made recently, which is nice. You can get a seagull movement inside there. It is stainless steel, but not much in the way of water resistance or anything. And I think it's just domed acrylic on the top. Sorry, we're back in focus. There's a look at the domed acrylic, which takes up like 30% of the height of this watch, but even with that, it's still quite thin. Go to the Flyback first, though. Wow, this feels really hefty for a quartz chronograph. Goodness me. Feels like they've put lead inside it. So I just really quite like the dials on both of these Flybacks, this one and the Pan Am one as well. Just has some extra spice to it. To me, they just kind of look like a lot of the Casio Edifice watches that you might have seen, some of their Pilot's watches, but arguably just with slightly less clutter. I think they both look quite interesting. This one is definitely less detailed, though, than the Pan Am one. It does cost a fair bit less, but there's far less texture and depth. On the Pan Am one, some of these sub-dials were embedded in the dial, whereas they aren't on this one, which is a bit of a shame. Has a raised crystal there. It looks to me like a mineral crystal, that. It's got like a blue hue to it. And blue on the sides, not as in an AR coating or anything. Overall, though, that is quite good looking, even if it is on the large side. Still seems to have the same sort of functions. And actually, the date window is really cool there. Especially at this price, it's quite rare that you find this. Shape of the numbers is like custom fit to the window, so you can see there the font curves kind of outwards slightly, and the 0 is actually bigger than the 3. Here you go, you can see it more clearly here with this 28. That's a really nice touch, and they've matched the colour perfectly with the dial as well, which is always appreciated. It's an unusual location really to have the day wheel up there between the 2 and the 3. Not often you see that. As for the rest of the watch, for the most part it looks near identical to the Pan Am. You just don't have the bezel or anything. And yeah, the bracelet looks virtually the same too. Same sort of frustrations with the clasp again here. Now this one is too big for me, but it goes quite well with my hoodie sleeve here. Not the thinnest watch in the world though, especially not considering this is battery powered. Not super familiar with this specific type of movement though, so not sure if this adds a bunch of extra thickness. Potentially it does, but let's test out that Marlin. Now this has been a watch I've been meaning to get my hands on for about 2 or 3 years really, but never really got around to it till now. Really not sure what to make of it at first. Don't know if I like it or not. There's no doubt they have nailed the vintage appearance though. I mean, this looks almost one-to-one like a vintage watch. You could easily mistake that for something you'd find in some sort of antique shop or something. Apart from, you've got fresh components. It's got like a steel case in that, so you don't have to worry about that. And the strap, this is one of the first times I will have owned a watch with this kind of finish to it. Yeah, you know what? I really do quite like that. Still very, very thin. Now we're down to the final 3. What have we got? Let's start with this one, why don't we? Aha, okay. I now remember what's in all of these last 3. And you know what? We'll get them open together. Because 2 of these are the same. And one of them is like a watch that we've just looked at. Okay, so the one in the middle is the new chocolate version of the Marlin, hand wound. And I've definitely been in my brown era for a while as of recent, at least in terms of fashion stuff. And this one almost has like a hint of burgundy to it, or at least the camera's picking that up. There you go. So same sort of thing, and they do this quite often. Timex seem to release these kind of limited run versions of the Marlin in more niche colours. And I think many would argue this is actually better looking than the standard version. And part of that is, because brown looks awesome, but also just because you got that more typical silver handset and that high contrast look, whereas on the other version of the Marlin that we just looked at, does have like a black handset, which does look a bit peculiar. Also, this version has a slightly different patterned strap. Now, I do get the impression that even though it looks decent on the outside, I think it may start to peel after a while, this one. Didn't get that feeling with the last strap. And there's a quick look at it on my 6 1/4 inch wrist. So yeah, 34 millimeters wide. And a very short lug to lug there as well, which means it does fit my arm pretty well, but might be a bit limiting for some of you. About 42.3 I've got there. So certainly not the biggest watch. Strap feels okay and it fits fine. I mean, they've definitely given people with larger wrists plenty of holes to go at, but I'm not sure how many wrists of that sort of size would ever take on this watch, because it is quite small, but overall do like it. I'll have to see which one I settle on. Now, something else I've already settled on before now was the Q Timex GMT. I really like the Q Timex GMT. I think it looks much better than the standard dive style Q Timex. And these are each the Q Timex chronographs here, which looked really good online. So I'll whip the plastic off, but before I do, just thought it was unusual that the 2 versions of this watch come with different types of protective packaging. Now this one here is like the gold coloured one, and it does make me wonder, does that mean that they're anticipating that this may get scratched more easily? That could be cause for concern, but for now we'll take a look at both, side by side. They've also released another chronograph recently, the Waterbury chronograph, and that one seems to be really popular online. People are calling it a Daytona killer, like everyone calls every watch these days a killer. And that one looked good too, but it did have one flaw as far as my preferences were concerned, and that was it didn't have a running seconds complication, and the large hand on the dial was just a chronograph hand, so when the watch wasn't in use, the watch looked dead. That one was a bi-compact design, so 2 sub-dials, whereas this one is a 3 sub-dial variant there instead. You can see this one does tick along there on the left side, so you're not left with a completely dead appearance, and I think this looks awesome. Really do think it looks great. Could be thinner, admittedly. Thinner is always better to me. Maybe specifically like the bezel could be thinner, I think, especially considering it's not going to be doing any work and moving or anything. But I mean, from above it looks phenomenal. And I decided to get 2 versions of this because they really seem to give off a strongly different vibe. This one on the left here just looked so bling bling, I couldn't not try it, whereas the one on the right is much more restrained. I mean, this looks like 1920s or something, this one really does. Really had to try this on the strap too. I just felt like the strap really goes with it. Again, very middle of the road strap, certainly not the best. Probably usable though. It's like this eco leather thing that they've been doing recently. Just a little bit thick for my preference, but at least on first impressions, I think these look baller, really baller. They both look like far more expensive watches than they actually are. I like them both in unique ways. I've never really been one for like gold plating or anything, but I think that this really suits that PVD style finish. And you can really see what I mean here. You know, the one on the right is like a kind of sportier, safe vibe. And then this on your left is your want to make a statement vibe. Try the chronograph hand there. Yeah, and they actually both have like a semi-sweep to the chronograph hand there as well, which is always nice to see. And I anticipate if we stop it and reset it, yeah, it does the typical quartz kind of sweep back to the top center. Now the subdials are far from the most detailed. I'm just kind of looking closely here, and they are quite plain, I've got to say. So you know, if you look really close, you can tell that these are more affordable watches. Doesn't really take a trained eye, but you know, from arm's length they look really good. Both got steel cases, 50 meters water resistance with these, with that little cell opening you can have at the back. So you can change the battery without taking the whole back off. As for the bracelet on this one on the right, definitely one of the better ones, I can tell immediately, even through the plastic. And that's not only because it kind of has a little bit of give to it, but also because the links are so small, you've kind of got micro adjustments built in. A link-sized increment here is, you know, a tiny adjustment really. So that makes the clasp really a non-issue whatsoever. And it also looks good. It definitely suits the style of the watch. There's a quick look on my 6¼ inch wrist. I think these are 40 millimeters if I remember correctly. Yeah, 40.2, and then with that hooded lug design, effective lug to lug of about 47. So about average for most chronographs, I'd say, in terms of sizing. This isn't really the type of thing I'd normally wear, at least this design. The blue one certainly is. Probably won't fit me, but let's give it a test. Case finishing is just kind of mediocre here as well. It's definitely nothing groundbreaking. Not on the Chinese level or anything like that. It's just a really cool, sporty little design here. Definitely has influences from certain luxury watches. No doubt about that, but it's also got some differences as well, as you can see. So I don't think it's a carbon copy of anything. Out of the two, I definitely prefer this one. This were a little bit smaller, I'd certainly wear it. Unfortunately, small chronographs, pretty hard to come by. So yeah, I'll link this one and all the rest that I've unboxed today in the video description. There's maybe one or two that I'm considering not putting on that list, but all the ones that I do, when I do feature them on Ben's Watch Club, you'll get a slightly closer look and some more detailed feedback on these.